Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hook, I am deeply concerned that the Biden administration systematically downplays Iran's aggression against America and against Americans. Sometimes they do it by downplaying the aggression. They act essentially as Iran's lawyers. Other times they simply hide information from Congress or the public. For instance, as Senator Risch mentioned in his opening remarks, you were personally threatened by this regime. As anyone here can see, you have a security detail because the Iranian regime is targeting you for the service that you've provided our country. It's not just you. Former Secretary of State Pompeo, former National Security Advisor Bolton are also being targeted for assassination, as are other former officials. What Americans don't know is that the Biden administration has gone to great lengths to hide the extent and persistence of those threats, including abusing the classification system. They find public discussion of Iran's aggression politically inconvenient because it gets in the way of their appeasement of the regime. Americans understandably don't like their government sending billions of dollars to theocratic thugs trying to murder fellow Americans. For instance, the administration is required to regularly notify Congress of threats to former U.S. officials such as yourself. But when they were negotiating their $6 billion ransom deal last summer, they took the unprecedented step, for the first time before or after, of classifying their notification to limit who could see it and who could discuss it. I would like to give you the opportunity to comment on the significance of these threats.
Senator, I don't have access to the intelligence anymore. I also don't have any visibility into the process whereby the persistent threat determination is made. What I can say is that I'm grateful to the committee and to the Senate and to the Congress for its funding that provides protection for me and my family. I'm grateful to the Office of Diplomatic Security at the State Department that provides that protection. I wish we were in a place that it was not necessary, but that is where we are. And again, I'm grateful to this committee for its support on that matter.
Well, let me say, Mr. Hook, I want to say to you and your family, thank you. You should not have to endure this as the price of public service. And I think it is completely unacceptable that the current administration has flowed $100 billion to a regime that is actively trying to murder former senior U.S. officials. I want to turn, you were saying a moment ago about how Iran has not felt any of the pain despite its actively directing and funding proxies. I want to talk about how the Iranian regime funds the proxies that are attacking Americans, that are attacking Israel, that are attacking our allies. During the Trump administration, you were part of the team responsible for imposing a maximum pressure campaign against the Iranian regime. That was the right strategy. That's how you deal with enemies that are trying to kill you. And you specifically targeted Iran's energy exports. That was very successful. The Trump administration, through focusing sanctions, was able to reduce their exports from 1 million barrels a day down to approximately 300,000 barrels a day. However, when the Biden administration came into office, they dismantled that pressure. Today, Iran's oil exports are roughly 2 million barrels a day, largely sold to communist China, and uncountable billions of those dollars have flowed towards the Ayatollah to be used for terrorism, to murder Americans and murder our allies. Biden administration officials say they're doing their best, but they simply cannot do anything at all about this, that they are helpless to stop the billions from flowing to Iran to be used to attack our country. Is that your assessment? Are they in fact helpless? Is there nothing they can do to impose costs on Iran and to cut off their cash?
Senator, the Biden administration is in a perfect position to announce zero oil exports of Iranian crude. And I would also say they should do the same thing on petrochemicals and industrial metals. And that would have a measurable impact on Iran's funding for its proxies. We have proven that it can be done. Secretary Pompeo and I announced the goal of zero, right? Even if you don't meet that goal, and we had metrics every day that Secretary...
And can you explain from a foreign policy perspective, is there any national security justification for the Biden administration hating oil and gas production in America and relentlessly assaulting domestic energy production, but at the same time giving a theocratic lunatic a green light to mint money and refusing to act against their energy exports?
I think there is a way to impose crippling oil sanctions on the Iranian regime without driving up the price of oil for American families at the gasoline pump. We've done it. We did it. It can be done again, and it can be done.
So what specifically should they do? And my time's expired, but please explain specifically, if the Biden administration wanted to cut off the cash and impose zero oil on Iran, how would they do it?
They would they would explain to every country that imports Iranian crude oil that they would be cut off from the international financial system because of our sanctions. Now, China has ways to circumvent that, but you have to look for other pressure points in the bilateral relationship with China so that you drive up the costs of their importing of Iranian crude. Then you bring that down, and if you can deal with China and some other imports that are leaking, ship-to-ship transfers, we set up an interagency team that monitored every single act of Iranian sanctions evasion on oil, and we countered it. And so we were very aggressive and we were very successful. It can be done again.
Thank you.